Hi, and welcome back to my web series Haldana Has Three Questions, my excuse to ask anything I want to some of the most incredible people. On episode 3, I got the chance to have a wonderfully soul-fulfilling chat with the author of Daughters of Silence, Rebecca Fisseha. Rebecca is one of the most talented yet down-to-earth and loveliest people I have ever met. She shares her artistic journey, her thoughts on Ethiopian culture, and the key to finding true love. Daughters of Silence will also be the first book in the Yenga Story virtual book club next month. If you're interested to join, let me know. Now here is the wonderfully talented Rebecca.
Hey,
Dana,
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. You look lovely.
You too. Thank you.
You're early.
Yeah, I know. Did I come back?
Yes, I think we should start. This is not good. This is not a good precedent for our people. You come not just on time, but early.
Should I come back?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm so glad I'm getting this time with you. So I'm super excited about you. Like in general, love you, but I'm loving that we're going to do this book club and we're going to talk about your book Daughters of Silence now. So I have two things to say to you.
Okay.
1, 2.
Yeah. Okay.
So I am totally in love. This I haven't started yet.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
your story in this was so adorable. And I mean, this entire book, all the stories are really great. I felt so but I think I related to yours the most. You connected it with your life or the character's life in Canada. And she brought her non-Abasha boyfriend with her. So it was just beautiful. The whole thing was just great. And that time in our lives, if the people that grew up in Ethiopia at that time, is bittersweet, right? And that your story is bittersweet because there's that wonderful feeling of nostalgia and childhood and family and love, but there was also this very dark, sad. There's a sadness behind that time that us as children didn't really get. Like we didn't comprehend it, but our parents did, right?
Oh yeah,
absolutely did.
About the kind of stress they were under.
I can't imagine. Like I'm a mom now, and I have no idea how I would have handled that time. So there's that horrible sadness and darkness at the same time, this really beautiful feeling of family and love and nostalgia that we then brought with us when we left to the US or Canada or other countries around the world. And so when we look back at that time, there's a balance to those two things. And your story does that beautifully.
Every sweet memory has that bitter edge to it, that sour edge. What did you think of the ending?
I love the ending. Let me tell you, I was on my toes when you started describing something coming out to meet them, to meet the couple. And I was like, oh my God, the ostrich. And then I died. I laughed out loud. So I was like, oh my God. I'm sure that's exactly what he looks like too. Like with the, I just imagine. Yeah. Description. It's like the unfortunate ostrich shape that we all have.
Oh yes, I know. That's the hand rests. Like how nursing mothers have that stomach pillow to rest their hand on.
Yes.
The men have built-in nursing pillow.
It's the unfortunate truth, isn't it?
No.
Of our genetics.
I love that question. An autobiography would be like a dog chasing its tail.
That would be what it is?
Yes.
Explain.
Oh, because it was the first line that came to my mind when I sat down to write what eventually became Daughters of Silence, because at the time I have no idea what I'm starting, but eventually became Daughters of Silence. The first line that floated in was like a dog chasing its tail. I don't know why. And then I sat down and, like a dog chasing its tail, she's been trying to find her way back to her beginnings ever since she grew old enough to travel alone. That was the first sentence that came up. I'm always like chasing myself. So I think that would be the title of my autobiography, like a dog chasing its tail. And I still feel that way up to a point. I still feel a sense of unsettledness, indecision about where I am, even though I've been here since 98 and I haven't lived in Ethiopia since I was in 92. But of course, I've gone back and forth a lot. So there's always a sense of temporariness to wherever I am.
You're right. There's this constant feeling of being unrooted that I've learned to live with almost, and it's a little bit sad because when I go back and I'm there for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, which it goes by like a blink of an eye. But I'm there and I'm like, oh my God, there's that wonderful, like literally feeling rooted to the ground. Like there's specific places when we used to go when I was a child, Batele, that I really feel like, okay, I'm grounded. Like my feet are literally connected to the center of the earth.
I read in a novel where the character, she's obsessed with this, astronomy's her thing. And then the way it's explained in there, it made sense because we're all at the atomic level created of the same things that were once stars. And therefore, that's why what the stars are doing at the moment of our birth, it has an impact on our personality. And or what days we should do what things, what's auspicious and what's not. That's the first time I read anything like an explanation of what is the basis of astrology. I'm like, oh, that's why I'm a star.
I love that. That's the most beautiful thing. No wonder you're a writer, man. You put those words together. That was so, that I felt that.
My Goodreads account has 500 something in it. And then before that, before I started a Goodreads account, maybe just under 1,000. I don't know.
Is it your favorite thing to do?
If it's a good book, yeah. But Netflix is it's ruining me.
I totally understand.
Of course not. No, because everybody comes with baggage and complications and issues. It's just your baggage has to match their baggage. It has to fit, when you're putting luggage in a trunk, it has to all fit perfectly. Otherwise it won't.
Bags have to be piled up on top of the other.
All the shapes have to fit snugly together.
That's the most romantic thing I've ever heard.
Huh?
That's the most romantic thing I've ever heard.
So I did undergrad in theater. And I started out as an actor and playwright, dabbled in screenwriting, like I said. And then eventually zoned in on short stories and a novel. And so I'm strictly prose now. I went through a phase of wanting to dramatize folk tales. And then the big project throughout my 20s was a play that eventually got produced at the end of the 2000s, the King Solomon and Queen Sheba story, told in parallel with a modern love story of like a girl who also travels back home to meet her childhood sweetheart, whose name happens to be Solomon as well. It would require a lot of sacrifice, of security, stability, predictability. These things you have to let go of. Life is always precarious. Life is always precarious as an artist. And if that's something you're okay with, and if a certain kind of austere lifestyle is something you think you can endure for the long term, then go for it. There's always the exception that of making it big, and nobody doesn't dream of making it big, but don't enter into it with that expectation. That's something you can't really control anyway. So if you can live a little bit like a monk, if you can accept being the odd one out in your circle of friends or family, how much is it worth to you? I guess that's what I'm saying. The example that always comes to mind is Toni Morrison, single mom, 2 boys, working full time. Initially, her first 2 or 3 novels, she wrote them while raising her 2 boys and working full time. Yeah. But in that documentary about her, she says, like, I couldn't have done it without the help of my family, helping me raise the boys, like mother, sisters, brother. I don't know if she had a brother, but she says there was no way I could have done it if they hadn't been there.
Is Toni Morrison your favorite author? This is, I think, the 3rd time you've mentioned her name.
And I think so. I feel like she's my godmother. A lot of a godmother to many. I don't know that I have a favorite, but if I was going to say a favorite, it's probably her. But as much for her work, but as for what she represents and just how she makes me feel.
Isn't that the greatest thing?
Yeah.
People is how they make you feel. That's the most important thing. Like, how do you make other people feel? How do they make you feel? Like, that's the lasting. That's the bit that's eternal for me.
Yeah. And if they can make you, the best thing about how she makes me feel is she makes me feel completely perfect to just be me, to just be doing what I'm doing.
That is the biggest gift anybody can give you, I think.
Yeah.
From a relationship.
That's that for a lot of people, for an entire group of people, really.
Right.
And then you add the talent on top of that. No wonder.
No. And the importance of being yourself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
as you get older, you realize that is what it's all about, and you can really drop everything else and you don't really have to worry anymore.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the beauties of getting older.
Is that there must be something.
I think it is. I think, honestly, like, you know what? I guess I can drop all this other toxic thoughts, all this other baggage that I had, expectations of myself, cages I was putting around myself. I can let all that go, and it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. And can we do that without getting older?
I know. No, we can't. You see, that's the bittersweetness part.
It's a 3-way tie between music, food, and the sense of showing up for each other in the especially the low moments. When push comes to shove, we may be a little bit living satellite lives a little bit, but we still can come together like magnets or like nails to a magnet or something if necessary.
Yeah.
What the ancestors were able to accomplish. I think we've been so smothered with it that we forget how unique it is and it was, and how much they saved our asses by barreling into battle. But it's just like constantly we're beaten over the head with it all the time, so we just tune it out, and you don't realize how rare and exceptional that heritage is until an outsider tells you. So I have a member of my extended family through marriage who's Jamaican, and when from time to time, the way he describes our own heritage back to us, it makes because we're so never about it at this point. We just roll our eyes, and he's like, do you understand how golden your heritage is, and we take it for granted, I think, sometimes. So that too is one of my favorite things, this heritage that we can afford to take for granted sometimes.
Stories. And
thank you so much.
I'm sure you're going to reach more and more people, and I can't wait for I
thank
you. Thank you.
Thank you.